Have you ever stopped and wondered if there's a totally different way to think about saving for retirement? Well, today we're going to break down a really interesting source that makes a super bold claim that you might actually be able to double your net spendable retirement income, basically by turning all the conventional financial advice completely on its head. I mean, think about that question for a second. It's pretty wild. We're not just talking about growing your nest egg, but doubling the actual cash you can take out and spend every single year tax-free. So you gotta ask, how is that even possible? Let's dig into the argument they're making. So the source kicks things off with this big number, 91%. It claims that 91% of Americans are putting their retirement money into traditional IRAs or 401ks. Now that sounds totally normal, right? That's what we're all told to do. But this source calls these accounts a potential tax time bomb, just sitting there, waiting to go off right when you need that money the most. And okay, here's the idea that really challenges everything we usually hear. The conventional wisdom, right, is that you'll be in a lower tax bracket when you retire. But this video argues that for a lot of people, that's just not the case anymore. And why? Well, think about it. You start losing all your old deductions. Your mortgage might be paid off, your kids are finally grown, and you're not putting money into those retirement accounts anymore. So to really show what they mean, the source sets up this fantastic case study comparing two fictional retirees. Okay, let's really dive into this. So on one side, we've got Tax to the Max. He does everything that most financial advisors would tell you to do. And on the other side, we have Mrs. Ivalot Moore, who, well, she takes a very, very different path. And the most important thing here, the thing that makes this a fair comparison, is that they both start from the exact same place, with a $500,000 IRA. All right, so first up, let's follow the traditional path. Tax to the Max just keeps deferring his taxes. He believes that the safest, smartest thing to do is let that money grow completely untouched. So the math on this one is pretty straightforward. If we assume a 7.2% annual return, which is a classic rule of thumb number that doubles your money every 10 years, his $500,000 IRA grows to a cool $1 million. Now that looks fantastic on paper, but you have to remember, every single penny of that $1 million is still subject to income tax down the road. And now for the unconventional strategy. Instead of just letting her IRA sit there, Mrs. Moore decides she's going to actively restructure her assets to try and unlock that tax-deferred money right now. Okay, this slide breaks down her entire plan step by step. It all starts with her restructuring her assets. She sells her paid-off house and buys 2 new ones. But here's the key. She intentionally takes on $800,000 of new mortgage debt. And this isn't just debt for no reason. It's a tool to create a huge new tax deduction. From there, she starts strategically pulling an amount from her IRA that's perfectly matched by that new deduction, with the goal of getting the money out completely tax-free. And this brings us to the core concept, what the source calls a tax wash. This is the engine that makes this entire strategy go. That new tax deduction from her mortgage interest is used to, well, wash away the taxes she would have owed on her IRA withdrawal. And here's what that looks like on paper. She pulls out $50,000, boom, that's taxable income, but she also has a brand new $50,000 deduction. They just cancel each other out for a net taxable income of $0. So the whole point is, this allows her to pull $50,000 a year out of her IRA without paying a dime in taxes on it. Now you're probably wondering, okay, but what about all the cash she got from selling her home that she didn't use for down payments? Well, according to the source, that $800,000 gets invested in something it calls an IL leaser fund. Now that's their term for a type of specially designed life insurance policy that allows the investments inside it to grow and, crucially, be withdrawn completely tax-free, totally separate from her IRA. So after 10 years of following these two very different strategies, let's put them side by side and see what the results look like according to this source. Wow. Okay, after a decade, the differences are pretty stark. Tax to the Max, he's got his big $1 million fully taxable IRA. Mrs. Moore's IRA, on the other hand, is way smaller. But look at this. She's grown that other investment into $1.6 million tax-free dollars. And yeah, sure, she has mortgage debt, but her asset growth has just blown past it.
And this chart just says it all. This is the bottom line. Tax to the Max, after he pays his taxes, can generate about $48,000 a year in spendable income. Mrs. Moore, even after making her mortgage payments, generates $85,000 a year, and it is all tax-free. I mean, according to the source, she has almost doubled her net spendable income.
Now look, this is a very specific strategy from one particular source, and it's definitely not your traditional financial advice. The point of breaking this down isn't to tell you what to do, but to really explore the thinking behind this kind of unconventional approach.
So, what are the big ideas to take away here? Well, first, it's about challenging that core assumption that you'll automatically be in a lower tax bracket. Second, it's about seeing something like mortgage debt not just as a liability, but maybe as a powerful tool for creating tax deductions. And finally, remember that the ultimate goal isn't just to have the biggest number in your account, but to create the absolute highest amount of spendable after-tax income.
And all of this really just leaves us with one big question to think about. Does the standard retirement playbook, the one that 91% of us are following, does it maybe overlook some really creative ways to optimize our assets and build a much more tax-efficient retirement? It is definitely some food for thought.